What's up, C10 Circle? Here with another update on the shop truck build. Last video, you heard me make the pledge to get it back on the road and street legal for the first time in a long time. For a little bit more on the story of the truck, you can check that video out. But first vehicle I ever owned, had it for over 30 years now, so thought it was time to finally get it back on the road after years of daily driving it in the early years, taking it apart, putting it back together, and then lots of modifications after that, which took it off the road for another time. Life took over. You guys know the story. You know how it goes. So, second video here. You might be asking, okay, where's the truck? You're going to talk about the shop truck? Where's the truck? Well, anybody that's done this before knows, if not the first thing, one of the first things that you need to do on one of these projects is you need a list. Got to have a list. Not only does that help you keep track of what you need to do, buy parts and all that kind of stuff, but nothing better than that sense of accomplishment of scratching it off the list, whether it's a piece of paper or scratching it out with a paint pen on a scrap piece of sheet metal, iPad, iPhone, whiteboard, whatever it is. You got to have a list. So the other thing, so that's the 101 of doing the build. The second part of the 101 class is do it once and do it right. So applying those two things together, kind of marrying them together, I thought, okay, I know I have a list here of when I started to track things and started to take things apart. It's the engineer in me, super detailed, want to try to sketch things out. So dug out the old list and took me a little bit down memory lane, and it's going to carry me forward. So this is that list here to show you how far back we're going here. This clipboard that this is on, made this in high school wood shop. And so a couple of these pieces of paper have been sitting on here for a long time. This one right here is when I was starting to take apart the bed and note the cross members and try to keep track of all the hardware, a bunch of other things. So this was, we're talking July 5th, 2002 here. So the truck was still in my parents' driveway at this point, working on it as I could. Again, taking it apart, having to put it back together to drive it again. We're a couple of days later, a couple weeks later there, doing some stuff with the master cylinder, getting ready to do some stuff with the firewall. Then moving on to May of 03 here, had the heater core totally removed here, making a bunch of notes here to note all the connections, label them. I only thought this was going to be a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. It was summer was coming up. Was going to be graduating from college soon. I was like, oh yeah, I got plenty of time, but I know it's going to be a little while, so why don't I note this down? Little did I know, it's going to be 20 years later before some of this stuff gets done. So fast forward to this next page here. We're in January of 2013. So at this point, the truck is out in Arizona when I had made the move out to Phoenix, Chandler more specifically, to work for Local Motors and continue that process that I was on there. And was doing some things here, getting ready to put it back together, and actually move back to the East Coast. So this was my list to say, okay, what do I need to do to get it running, to just drive it on the trailer and get it back home. So list continues on. Some of the good things here with this list is I'm ahead of the game, apparently. So you might be thinking, wow, this list is 20 years old, but right here, there's a big one. Rear disc brake conversion, done. So I'm already ahead of the game there. You can scratch that one off. Heater core, that's already installed again, 20 plus years later. And a whole bunch of other things. But again, got to have a list so that you know what you need, what needs to be taken care of, especially as it relates to safety, job number one, right? And then also it helps you to develop your parts list, of which I have a bunch sitting around here, but still definitely more to buy. Of course, LMC, can't go wrong there. You got to be able to have that. Dug that out of the pile here as I was finding all this paperwork. So more to come there on the paperwork, the notes. I'll dive into that a little bit more, and then of course we'll be back out working on the truck, clearing things out of the way and getting it back together. Remember, keep your circle tight, but keep it open.